How to hold pads for kicks. Throughout this video, you're going to see Sifu Julian make an impact as I throw my kicks, doing kind of a little bit of a high five. The reason for that is I want to meet a little bit of resistance when I'm throwing my kicks so I don't hyperextend my knee.
So another example of the correct way for a roundhouse kick, meet the kick. One more time, meet the kick. Now the incorrect way, what you're going to see is as the leg comes up,
super slow.
What happens if I don't meet the kick with resistance is my arm, shoulder, and elbow will twist back. It's not going to be very comfortable for me, and it also has a potential to hurt my partner. So the main thing you want to focus on, meet it like a high five, provide that resistance.
The first kick we're going to do is front kick.
And we're going to be using the focus pad. This is a great start for anyone who's smaller than you or just starting out.
As they come up to chamber, right to the focus pad, back to chamber, and down. When you put it all together, light tap, and back. This is an example of why, as your kicks develop and get stronger, you want to switch to a shield instead of the focus pad.
So as Savannah throws the kick, especially with power, as the foot comes out, it'll be harder and harder for me to keep a neutral wrist, and you're going to run the risk of pulling that wrist back and injuring it.
And potentially kicking him in the face.
Yeah, that wouldn't be very fun.
No.
We move on to the shield when somebody gets bigger, stronger, and more experienced. That way there's less of a risk of getting injured for the person holding.
When you're throwing your kick on the shield, you want to make sure to aim to the center. You don't want to go too high or too low. If you kick too high, you risk accidentally smoking your partner in the face. You go too low, and again, you might hyperextend their knee. So make sure that you do your first few slow, right to the center of the pad, make sure they're accurate, and back down. And then as you increase your speed, just make sure that it stays to the middle. The next kick we're gonna do is side kick. It's gonna be very similar to how to hold for a front kick.
And again, if somebody's smaller than you or just starting out, you can use the focus pad, and you're gonna hold your position for your arm based on whatever's comfortable for you.
So from here, I'm just gonna start in a side stance, and remember to try and always aim to the center of pads. So the way Sifu Julian's holding it right now is what's best for his arm. So as I come up, hold to the center, kick to the center, and then back down. When you put it all together, that's what it looks like.
When you're holding a focus pad for the side kick, you want to pick an arm path that's comfortable to you. All right. As somebody gets more experience, they're going to be kicking harder, they're going to be kicking faster. So if your hand is out here, you're in a compromised wrist position. So if you do not brace in time and they throw that kick low, you're going to hurt your wrist. Another thing that can happen, even if it's on your side and you do support the wrist, if they miss low, it can hit you in the leg, again, just causing injury. So you probably want to switch to the shield as they get stronger and faster. So we're going to be moving on to the shield now. Again, this is if somebody's bigger, stronger, or more experienced.
So again, keep in mind, you always want to aim to the center. So from here, make sure you start slow, up to the center, back down. And then as you get a little bit better, more confident, add speed, add power, right to the center of the bag. The next kick we're going to do is roundhouse kick.
For this kick in particular, you can use the focus pad if you have low experience or even high experience. Just depends on what you're doing. If you're going for power, you're probably going to want to use the shield. If you're going for speed and accuracy, you can use the focus pad.
Okay, so for this one, I'm gonna do it off of a forward stance. So remember, always start a little bit slower so you can get the hang of trying to kick to the center of the focus mitt. So from here, up, turn, throw to the center, and back down. As you get more confident, aim to the center, make it happen.
Just to touch base again on what we mentioned at the beginning of the video, when you're holding for any of these kicks, especially roundhouse, you want to meet it like a high five. So when they're tapping, you meet the kick like a high five. So that way, both you and your partner receive that resistance so that you don't hurt your shoulder or your elbow. So what can happen if you do it wrong is the kick can push through, and if I'm not providing that resistance, it's not going to be super comfortable. Now, if you're working on power and you're kicking through a target, you don't want to try and stop it, because again, that's just going to do horrible damage to your elbow and horrible damage to your shoulder. So what you want to do instead, just let the arm go. So for example, right through. All right, one more time, kick through. Just let the arm go. So that was an example of a power head kick. if we were deciding to do some power body shots, you probably don't want to use the focus pads. At this point, you're going to want to switch to the shield. Now, it's very important when you're using the shield that you line up according with where your partner's leg path is going to go.
So as you can see, Julian's holding it completely sideways for me to kick. So the top of my shin this time will hit the top of the bag, not the top of my foot. If you were to angle out, then I'll be missing the pad almost entirely. Okay, so keep that in mind when you're holding it. Hold it straight, dead on, and then as you go into your more power kick, he'll be able to take that absorption of the hit a little bit better, and his base will be prepared to take the momentum. Next kick we're gonna do is my personal favorite, hook kick.
For this kick, whether you have experience or low experience, you're gonna be using the focus pad.
Make sure when it's being held for you, it's completely sideways again. If the face is towards you, you'll be hitting the edge of it, which is not ideal. From here, top of your foot to the pad. You also have the option of going over the pad and using it as more of an obstacle to get your technique on point. One thing to keep in mind, if you're doing a tap hook kick, you want to meet that resistance with the pad. So again, for an example, Sifu Julian will meet my resistance with that little high five for my tap hook. Now, if my hook kick is gonna go all the way through, you wanna let your arm go. The next kick we're gonna do is an axe kick.
We're gonna be using the focus pad again, and we're gonna demonstrate that first.
So as you're coming up for your axe, make sure you're trying to aim right to that center. This time it is going to be on an angle. So from up, straight down into the pad. One more time, a little bit faster.
Now that might seem like an awkward arm position to hold for a kick. However, if you saw when Sifu Silvana kicked, I let my arm just fall down. The reason that I like this path for a kick for an axe is because it mimics a fighting stance position, clearing the shoulder to make contact with the head, just like that.
Now keep in mind, holding for an axe kick can be pretty tricky. There's a lot of ways to hold it right and a lot of ways to hold it wrong.
Exactly. So for me, based on my comfort, holding an axe kick this way is probably not the way for me because I have a little bit more discomfort on my inner elbow. So even if I let my arm go, there's just potential to hurt the inside portion of my elbow. So instead, I hold it using the outside portion of my elbow, and again, I let my arm path just go. Let's say you have discomfort on your whole elbow, holding it either way just doesn't work for you. You do have the option of using a clapper instead, where you just let the clapper go.
The last kick we're gonna do is crescent kick.
For this kick, you can use a pad, you can hold your hand out, whatever you choose, you're just providing a target to kick over top of.
So from here, like Sifu Julian just said, all I'm gonna try and do is avoid the target. Up, around it, and back. You can do this as fast as you want. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. If there's a technique that you want me to cover, be sure to leave me a comment and maybe I'll do it in a future video. Other than that, make sure to like, subscribe, turn on post notifications, and share this with someone who could use the help. And finally, I'm going to do my Patreon shout out of the week. Thank you so much, Quincy C, for being on my Patreon page and making videos like these possible. I appreciate you more than you know. And I'll see y'all next time. Bye, everyone.
Using the focus pad, and that's what we're gonna do.
Okay, ready to try again?